one of the things that I think people always try to figure out, what can I do next? One of the questions that I had for you is, what do you think is one of the most impactful thing women can do to accelerate their career success? You hear about, oh, you got to have work-life balance, you got to have this, and you want to have a career specifically for women. What are some things that they can do to accelerate their career, given that backdrop?
3 things. The first one is know your worth and value. So I tell people all the time, if a headhunter calls you, you should take the call. I didn't say take the job, but you should take the call. Like, take the call, because you need to know you have options. So many times people stay in a situation too long, a marriage, a relationship, a job, a city, or whatever, because they're comfortable in dysfunction and they feel like they don't have any other options or alternatives. You need to know your worth and value so that you are always consciously making a choice to stay somewhere or to actively go somewhere. So that's number 1. Number 2, know the reasons why you do the work that you do. What are the things that motivate you? And it's okay if money is one of them, but what else? What are the reasons that get you out of bed to do the work that you do? And always be chasing somewhere that's going to let you align your values with your work, right? Yeah. And then number 3 is, I would say, name the boogeyman.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So I think that one day I was like, why are, people of color and women of color more acutely, more risk averse? And it was the question was born out of my own risk aversion. So, the joke that a lot of people don't know is every time you see me, my hair looks different, and it's a mechanism I use to make myself comfortable being uncomfortable. Like, because naturally I'm more risk averse than you would think. And so I do little things to just get me in the habit of breaking out of a habit, right? I probably eat the same thing for lunch 5 times a week, and no joke. So you have to find little ways to make you take more risks. So I think people of color and women, and again, so women of color acutely, are very keenly aware of the sacrifices people who came before us made. And so there's this responsibility we have, like I was telling you in my finance days, that we bear this responsibility, sometimes self-imposed, that we cannot let the ancestors down, those who have paid, sacrificed and paved the way for us to sit in these seats. We can't let them down, right? Yeah. So we don't want to fail. And then, we understand that we're still breaking new barriers. So we're trying not to get the door closed on those coming behind us. So we don't want to rock the boat too much. And as a result, we tend to play it too safe. Right. And sometimes we don't even know what we're playing it safe from. We are fearful of something that we have not even named, and we've given it a power that it doesn't even deserve. Right. And so I remember sitting in a conference probably 15 years ago, and there was 2 white women on stage. And one of them I knew, she was a partner at Ernst & Young, and the other one was a woman who worked in the NBA at the time, in one of the executive offices. And I'm listening to them talk, about how, if the organization doesn't value me, then I'll leave and go somewhere else. Now, I was sitting there having cognitive dissonance, Cody, because one of the woman at Ernst & Young, I knew her very well, and I knew that her husband was a stay-at-home dad. And so she was the only breadwinner, not primary, only. Wow. Right? Yeah. And similar, so my husband was a 20-year elementary school teacher. Noble profession, but not very lucrative, right? Yeah. And I have moved this man around the world 7 times currently, probably at the time 4 or 5 times. Picked up his career and followed me to support my career. My children have picked up their lives, and started over in all these different places. And so I had this responsibility that, like, I can't let all of that be in vain, right? They have all sacrificed too much for me to let this be in vain. So when she said, I'll just leave and go somewhere else, I was like, what do you mean? Like, I can't do that. All these people have rerouted their lives for me, and I know you're in a similar situation. So how do you say that? Right. And it dawned on me, like, why aren't the women who look like me that I'm talking to thinking this way? And it's because we have given this boogeyman too much power. And so I started asking myself, if I rock the boat, if I say the hard thing, if I do the thing that I know is right, but could have not be received well because it's a challenge to others who are not normally accustomed to being challenged, what's the worst thing that could happen?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that is a great point. And I think these are some amazing points that are going to help individuals with what they're trying to do. Let me take the big kind of the 800-pound gorilla out of the bag. And what should the leaders do to help their teams increase their career success?
Yeah, I think leaders in the organization have to constantly measure their processes for equitable outcomes. And if not, you have to be willing to throw them away, right? I think leaders also have to be good allies. They have to use their time, their power, whether it's their positional power or their influence, their body in terms of what are they reading, who are they listening to, and their resources to combat racism, sexism, xenophobia, homophobia, or anything else that is keeping your people from progressing. Like, you have to actively be doing the work to make your organization more equitable for everyone.
Yeah, that's powerful. We're gonna get to some questions. I see some questions in the chat. I just want to see any final thoughts on what people who are on that leadership path can do to take that next step before we jump in and get a few of these questions.
The last point I wanted to make about the boogeyman is, you got to understand, when I say what's the worst thing that can happen, is the worst thing that can happen is you might lose a job, right? But that's not going to stop your family from loving you. That's not going to stop your friends from talking to you. That's not going to stop you from being, a bad chick or an amazing man. It's not going to stop who you are. Yeah. And so that's why I think it's really important to say, what is the worst thing that can happen? Because it just means you do go get another job.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's a great point. Life is too short, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing.